WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're living in a moment that's offered a big question. What does it look like to learn material with depth? That question is pressing. Fewer people are reading. Technology is often distracting us from that task. And when it's not doing that, artificial intelligence is spreading information quickly, but not necessarily offering the depth that traditional learning offers. So what does this question of learning deeply mean today in the classroom, where most Michigan fourth graders aren't reading proficiently and reading scores keep sliding, even as fourth grade math has started to recover? What does it mean to teach well in this moment? Eric Mershart is the special education teacher at Lake Orion High School in Oakland County. He also just became the Michigan Teacher of the Year for next school year, and he's Michigan's candidate for the National Teacher of the Year Award for 2027. Eric, welcome and congrats.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be here today.
We're going to get to what good teaching and what real learning looks like. But before we do, I got to ask you, what did it feel like to become Teacher of the Year?
It was quite a shock. It was one of those where you get into education and you don't really expect accolades like this. You get into it because you want to make a difference on the lives of the students in your community and those that you work with every day. So to be brought into an auditorium and then to be called up on stage and say that, hey, you are the Michigan Teacher of the Year, and then come to find out that the auditorium is filled with all of my students that I work with on our unified basketball team, unified robotics, members of our Sources of Strength committee that I'm one of the many adult advisors of, and then the girls that I coach for our varsity flag football team, all there. My family members came down. It was quite the experience.
It sounds like a really emotional acknowledgement.
It was emotional, and then my coworkers, being amazing as they are, all had giant fat heads of me that they were holding up in the back as well.
No, they didn't.
So of course, that really brought a little levity to the situation. But probably my favorite part was some of my students started chanting Mr. M. I go by Mr. M up at the high school, and that's great. That was awesome.
So you had a lot of support. You had a lot of energy in there. I mean, State Superintendent Glenn Maleko said that you, quote, ignite curiosity, you build confidence, and you open doors of opportunity for every child. From reading about why you won this award, it seems to be, at least in part, because of your persistent optimism and joy that you bring to teaching. Do you agree with that?
It's one where I love what I do. It is, you may not be able to tell because you've just met me here. I'm pretty ADHD, so I'm constantly moving. But it is one where I have a job where I get to go in every day and work with an amazing group of students who I can watch overcome hurdles that I can't even begin to understand. And watching them conquer those each and every day continues to light that passion in me that I want to make a difference.
But for you, it's not just about watching your students conquer these big hurdles. It's about the relationship that you're building with them in the process. Mm-hmm. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it is one where every great educator I've ever met starts with that relationship piece. Being able to build that relationship with my students, getting to know their likes, their dislikes, helps create that welcoming, friendly environment. When a student is in that kind of environment, they feel ready to take risks. They feel more at ease. For a lot of our students, you get out of that survival, flight, or fight stage, and you're able to relax, and you're able to thrive more in that environment.
What does that look like? I mean, how do you know the moment when your teaching is really connecting with students and they're learning something deeply? It's that light bulb moment where you see the light bulb above their heads?
Yeah, when you're able to be in those and you can just see that they're engaged, that they are following along with what you're doing, that they are excited, that they are ready to volunteer, that they're ready to participate. And then the great thing about kind of the area that I teach, being a self-contained CI classroom teacher, is we're able to go out and do some of these things out in the community as well.
Self-contained CI, what does that mean?
So what that means is that my students spend roughly about 80% of their day with me in the classroom. So my students are in my room for math, ELA, social studies, science, and then we also spend a large portion of that time on working on different life skills to help them what they're going to need when they get out of that school setting. My students will go ahead and we support them out in some adapted electives and during lunchtime so they can help kind of get some of those social skills out within the school community as well.
I mean, and this is all going back to, again, the way that you prioritize relationships with your students, I think. Talk about why creating intimacy and emotional comfort with the students that you're teaching is important to helping them learn. I mean, you've mentioned that this creates an environment of safety, and it creates an environment where they feel comfortable. But I want you to go deeper on this when it comes to actually learning something new and the way that you're creating this intimacy with them and how these two things so deeply connect.
One of the large parts of that to really help push it forward is maintaining that sense of positiveness when you are working through some of these things. It's one where in all situations in life, when you try something and you're unsuccessful, it can be demoralizing. It can make it so you're not ready to try again. Whereas if you're able to go ahead and kind of turn that into being a positive of, hey, great job. You did awesome. I'm happy to see that you took the time to try this out, but let's go ahead and try this a different way here. And then continuing to maintain that positivity in the classroom, even in the face of being unsuccessful, can really help kind of push them forward to continue to try and try again. On more than one occasion, when somebody volunteers an answer, and if they're quickly shot down, you can just see almost that passion just drain out of their face.
It's extinguished.
And it's one where then you have to work twice as hard to get it back.
Yeah.
And that's in a classroom, but that's in all aspects of every job. If you're in a staff meeting at a business and you come up with this idea and they're like, no, the chances of you being willing to take that risk again go down because you don't want to be embarrassed.
I mean, we live in such a fast-paced world that sometimes I think it's easier said than done for some folks to hold on to that kind of positivity and practice that kind of positivity. The compliment sandwich, as my team and I like to say, right? We're going to give you a critique of something, but we also want to tell you what you did right and celebrate some of those things first. Do you ever have to slow down and remind yourself to begin with the positive, to lead with positivity, or is it just totally natural for you at this point?
It's a mindset. And just like with everything, you have to go in every day being like, today is going to be a great day. I'm going to go into it. I'm going to do everything I can to make a positive impact on the lives of the students or the athletes that I'm working with today. And it's one where nobody's perfect. At numerous times, I'll go ahead and I'll catch myself and be like, I needed to word that differently.
Do you then go back and reword it for the person if it's in real life or via, let's say, an email or a text?
Yeah, it's one where reflection is such a large part of teaching. Being able to go ahead and recognize that there's different ways that you can do things and being willing to accept what you come to terms with in that reflection. And sometimes that's, hey, I'm sorry, I worded that wrong. That did not come across how I meant it. I'm sorry. I'm really proud of this, but this is where I was trying to go with it.
This takes great humility and introspection. I'm wondering what kind of message you think it sends to your students or the kids you're coaching, to other people who see you as a leader. What message does it send when you come back and say, hey, I did that wrong?
You know, it's one where it shows that it's okay to make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And we've all heard this from when we were young till you get old. You always hear nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But it's a different thing to say that rather than to display it. And that's probably one of the hardest things that, especially as an adult, we can do, to come back and say, I'm sorry. That did not come across the way I wanted it. I made a mistake.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guest is Eric Mershart. He's the special education teacher at Lake Orion High School in Oakland County, and he won the Michigan Teacher of the Year award for the upcoming school year. We're discussing what makes a good teacher and why Eric became one. It's not all hearts and puppy dogs, though, of course. I mean, there are a lot of teachers who might be listening to this and thinking, yes, that is what I want to be, but I'm already underwater. I don't have enough support. I don't have time to coach. And teachers don't mostly leave the profession for lack of morale. They leave over pay and workload and paperwork, and special ed vacancy rates run about, double the general ed rate. So I have to ask you this very thorny question. Can optimism actually move a structural problem?
Well, it's one where when we take a look at retention, right? And that's ultimately what a lot of this comes down to. There's not very many fields where within 5 to 7 years, half of the people entering that field are gone and wanting to do something else.
That's stunning.
You get into education and you have this passion, this fuel, and then over time it kind of gets beaten out of you almost. You begin to get overwhelmed. You're putting in all this extra time, and you're not necessarily recognized for this extra time you're put in. You're just kind of told, hey, this is what you need to do. So when we are looking at what are some different ways that we can really retain teachers and to kind of keep those, especially in the field of education, you know, the first thing, and like you said, the compensation piece is always one of the most difficult things that you can look at. And every district here in the state is going to be in a different boat. But teachers want to make sure that they are recognized for the work and the time they're putting in, and that means both recognized on a personal level of, I see what you're doing, and you're doing a great job. Keep it up. But also on that compensation-wise, because those really can go hand in hand. If you have one kind of without the other, it gets to be a little bit more difficult for those involved. But from kind of where I am and what I can kind of preach and what I see that us as veteran educators can help impact is to try and mentor some of those that are kind of in those situations.
I'm not surprised to hear that Michigan's Teacher of the Year is emphasizing the value of mentorship. Certainly, that feels like a really important component of this, is mentoring those new green teachers. What else should we be doing, though? I mean, in the state legislature, in school districts, to help more teachers become joyous in their teaching, to grow relationships between them and their students. And also, I mean, you've mentioned compensation here is key. It sounds to me like you, as many teachers would like to see that go up.
Yeah, and you know, it is one where teachers put in a lot of time.
And much of it outside of the classroom, I might add. I mean, my mother, who's a former educator, she observes how often I take my work home, and she says, you're like a teacher almost, how often you're working late on, a school night, so to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it's one where compensation definitely goes in and it plays a role within that. The one thing that we as educators can do is we can go ahead and we can rely on a lot of the amazing, excellent educators that we have here in Michigan. One of the greatest things that I've learned and I've realized throughout my years of teaching is how much I come away when I have a chance to observe other educators, when I get to see the great things that teachers are doing in my district or in my county or across the state of Michigan. When I'm able to go in and I'm able to see the different strategies that they're using, and I'm able to see how they interact with their students, it gives me new ideas. It kind of reignites that fire inside me. It's one of the big reasons why I love having student teachers, or I love having, we have a program up at the high school called the ESEP program, and it's meant for students who have a beginning passion to want to enter a field in special education. Having them come into my classroom and work with me and work with my students, seeing their joy helps build me up and helps me remember why I got into teaching. And it helps kind of continue to push me through some of those harder days, because teaching, it's a very rewarding job. It's amazing, but it's stressful. It's hard, and at times you kind of feel like you may be in that survival mode and you don't know how to get out. And what I've found is in those, I really need to rely on my coworkers, other educators, my students to help kind of get me out of those type of situations.
So it sounds like perhaps you'd like to see some of the school districts not feel so insulated and be more connected to each other throughout the state.
Yeah, one of the big things in special education that we talk about a lot is you don't want to be in a silo. You don't want a silo here of just this and a silo here. And when we're looking at school districts and we're looking at teachers, we kind of have a lot of those silos right now here. When we can go ahead and we would be able to share these wonderful, amazing things that teachers are doing, and taking the time to go ahead and put them in front of the community and be like, look at what our teacher is doing here. This is incredible. This is amazing. And making sure that everybody can see the great things that the educators and teachers are doing in their community can really help build that up.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guest is Eric Mershart. He's a special education teacher at Lake Orion High School in Oakland County, and he won the Michigan Teacher of the Year award for the upcoming school year. We're discussing what makes for good teaching during a time when it's hard to get students to pay attention because of all the distractions around us. Coming up, we'll continue the conversation and dig into why Eric became a teacher in the first place. Stay with us. It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guest today is Eric Mershart. He's a special education teacher at Lake Orion High School in Oakland County. He also just became the Michigan Teacher of the Year for the next school year, and he's Michigan's candidate for the National Teacher of the Year award for 2027. We're discussing what it means to learn deeply during a time when so many students and adults are distracted. And Eric, we've gotten a little bit more of an idea of your philosophy as a teacher. And of course, this has me wondering about your past a little bit. And it has me thinking about when you learned to read. In second grade, you couldn't read, and a special education teacher got you to grade level within a year. Reading is where Michigan is really struggling. Most of our fourth graders aren't reading proficiently, and unlike math, those scores keep going down. When you look at where the state is now, what do you think we're getting wrong about how we teach kids to read?
I think one of the things when we are looking at what we are trying to do in order to get a lot of our students to read, a big part comes down to not everybody learns the same way. And one of the hardest things when we are looking at overarching strategies to go in is when it comes to different research-based strategies, they have to be done a very specific way, but not everybody learns that way. So being able to recognize that not one size fits all. Our students are going to all need a multitude of different resources, a multitude of different strategies to help them make those gains. And then to go ahead and let's recognize the success that they are making towards that goal of reading. I was lucky enough that my parents, as well as my second grade teacher at the time, recognized that I was not where I needed to be, and they put in a lot of time and effort to help kind of push me forward.
So that's what that teacher got right with you, is that teacher said, Eric needs something different.
Mm-hmm. Needed something different, and it was something that my parents recognized that they needed to do some additional things, not just at home, but I also, they got me a private tutor outside of school as well to help try and help me get some of those base skills. Like I said at the start, I am pretty ADHD, so my attention at times can kind of wander. So when I was sitting in the classroom, I would be sitting in the classroom. I wouldn't be causing any behaviors, but my mind would be somewhere completely else. So I missed a lot of those basic building blocks of reading. And if you don't have some of those basics, it makes it hard to kind of continue to increase as the grade level context gets higher and higher.
I realize that your mom was a teacher, and I do wonder if she influenced you to become one. But before we go there, you've mentioned quite a few times having this ADHD brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering at this point in your life if it now feels like more of a superpower than the disability that it was when you were a kid.
Oh, definitely. It is one where in the job and when I was beginning to look at what I wanted to do with my life, I knew that I needed something where I could be moving, where I could be constantly trying to focus on as many of different things at once. And in the area of special education, I can be up in front of the classroom while paying attention to a student behavior over on another side, while in a conversation with somebody else over here, while also keeping an eye on the time to make sure that we don't go long or if we have something going on.
But you would not have been able to carve this path one into a world where it could become your superpower if not for the teachers, and it sounds like your parents as well, recognizing that you needed something different.
Mm-hmm.
So now back to your mom, who is a former educator. Did that play a role in your going into teaching?
Definitely. So my mom is an occupational therapist, but she worked for Macomb Intermediate School District. And then my grandfather was a science teacher over at Berkeley Schools for almost 30 years. And he coached while he was there. And being brought up in an environment in a home where teaching was recognized. I know you said your mom was an educator. You look at the field and you look at that job as something to really strive for. Mm-hmm. So I knew when I graduated high school that I wanted to do something in education. I wanted to be a teacher. And started off kind of in that secondary ELA because I love to read. I was like, oh, this is great. I can read books and talk about it with my students. But after the first year of being at Western Michigan, I just wasn't feeling that passion that I knew I really wanted. When I had graduated high school, I had worked as a lunch aide in my mom's building, which is a paraprofessional who comes in and kind of covers the lunch break for other paraprofessionals that are in the classrooms. And I remembered the love and the joy I felt going into work every day, even for just those couple of hours covering lunch. And I was like, I want to do this every day. I want this same feeling of fulfillment and joy going into work. So I made the switch at Western. I got into the field of special education, and that's kind of that. That was 17 years ago now.
It felt right.
It did. And when looking, I'm lucky enough, my as of right now, we'll see, it'll probably change, but my oldest is constantly says that he wants to go into the field of education. And when I'm at home, I try and kind of relay that same sense of passion and awe of the job that I can share with him, so he can look at it that way. And my youngest is far more interested in the broadcasting field, so
Okay.
he's backstage here today taking all this in.
All right. I'm here to talk to him when the time comes. Before I let you go, you'll also be holding a non-voting seat on the Michigan State Board of Education, and you'll join the Governor's Educator Advisory Council. You have the chance to advocate on that seat. In the last 30 seconds that we have here, do you know what you'll be pushing for in that space?
So it's one where the first thing is I'm really looking forward to hearing from the fellow educators here in the state about all the different issues that they're faced with every day.
So you're going to listen. That's number one.
Number one is listen. And then in any job and in any role, being able to listen is extremely strong. But I really want to go ahead and I want to kind of push for opportunities for all of our students, to going ahead to make sure that our students have those options and successes to go ahead and pursue what they're passionate about in their school community.
Eric Mershart, special education teacher at Lake Orion High School in Oakland County, Michigan's Teacher of the Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is The Metro. We'll be right back after the news from NPR and WDET.